We had invited to go down swimming at a friend's pool, and it was super hot. You know how hot that summer was. We left to go down to swim, and on the way down, my van started making all these horrific noises. And I immediately drove into my mechanic on Mulberry and said, "Ray, I don't know what's going on with my van." Well, he said, "I can't believe you made it down the canyon." And then, I was totally freaked out. So settled the kids with some friends, and I waited for my car to be fixed. Why it was going to take a long time. So I went and had a friend, went to a friend's house, had her come get me, and got a call that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that my van was ready. So I picked up my van, and right about that time I was getting inundated with calls from friends. I got the reverse 911 call that we were on a mandatory evacuation. And so my friend said, "Well, I'll follow you in the van and we'll go up to your house and get as much as we can get." And I'm getting chills right now. Just reliving this. It's okay. They had blockaded the road at the base of the canyon and didn't want us to go through. And I just finally said, "Look," I pulled out my ID. I said, "Look, I live up there. I have animals. I had 2 cats, a dog, and my horse. I've got to get them out at the very least." And he said, "Okay." And I said, "My friend's going to help me." And he said, "No, she's not." And I said, "Yes, she is." And we both just, sped up here as quickly as we could. And the heat coming up the canyon was unbelievable. I've never felt such intense heat. By the time we got up here, we were passing cars were flying down, people with horse trailers were flying down, up and down the canyon. It was just like a highway. By the time we got up here, it was this eerie, I don't know, black, gray, purple sky. And the smoke was so thick that, it was hurting us to breathe. It was bothering my throat and my nose and my eyes. And we arrived to my horse stamping at the gate, and just, her nostrils were flaring. And my dog was inside, pacing, and he ran out to the car, got in the back of the van. I grabbed my cat carrier and threw my 2 cats in the cat carrier and loaded them in. And my friend said, "Well, what do you want to get?" And I remember standing in my house and just looking around, and I just broke down. I said, "I don't know what to get." And she started grabbing pictures, just taking personal family photos off the wall, and thank goodness, and off my buffet. And I wish I had grabbed more things, like things you can't replace, like the outfit that my daughter was found abandoned in China on the street corner, and photos of me when I was pregnant with my firstborn, my biological child, photos and memoirs from my son's adoption in South Korea, my middle son. So, everybody always says in hindsight, or, I wish I would have, but I guess we got the important things out. I got out safely. I got my animals out safely. My kids were in town, thank God. I can't even imagine the trauma that they would have had to go through. And it was very traumatic. As we were loading the car with those few things, the sheriff's department came around with a megaphone and said, "Everybody out immediately." And so I knew to tie a white towel. I just grabbed a washcloth or something, I don't know what I grabbed, and tied it on the front door handle to indicate that everybody was out. It just felt like a dream, like a nightmare, a bad dream, a nightmare. It was very surreal. And we lost everything. The house, the office, the deck, the garage, everything, and 50 years worth of my personal belongings and family heirlooms. My children lost everything. Yeah, so it was not a pleasant time. A lot of time grieving and in limbo, and what do I do? Now immediately, you contact your agent and say, you've lost your home, and how much coverage do I have? Because that's not something you have in your brain at all times. And he said, "Well, if all goes well, you might have enough just to pay off your loans." And I had a first and a second on this house, the old house, and I won't go into that. There were some things that my ex-husband did that I wasn't aware of. But anyway, that's another story. So I thought, well, okay, here are my options. I take all of my insurance money and I pay off my loans, and I have a piece of property and I have no house. And what do I do with a piece of burnt property and no house? My other option was to just walk. And I was really close to walking, as a lot of people did. I don't know that I was necessarily underinsured. I think because of the divorce and the second on the house, it really put me in a really bad financial position. So months went by. I had a couple of friends, one in particular, Tammy Wilgers, who said, you need to call Habitat for Humanity. I had heard about Habitat for Humanity. I really didn't know what all they did or what they could do for me. And I just said, Tammy, what can they do for me? I'm a financial disaster. I'm a train wreck. And she said, just go talk with them. Well, I let months go by and thinking, they're not gonna help me, you know. So I mustered up the courage to go in and talk with them. Kristen Candela is the executive director of Habitat, and Teresa Bain is the family services coordinator, and I met with them. And I just took all of my paperwork in and just laid it out on their table, and I said, I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about me. I just went through a divorce. I didn't fare well. My house was upside down. I lost everything. I'm a financial disaster. I said, you don't want to work with me. And they said, you are just the type of person we love to help. And as it turned out, they wanted to reach out to someone who had lost everything in the High Park fire. And what I heard is that they had narrowed it down to 3 families. I don't know how many families applied to them. And I went through this process, this application process, and lots of interviews, lots of talking with them. Mother's Day weekend, a group from Timberline Church, Serve 6.0. I had so many people reach out to me. It's not even, I don't even think I can list all the people that reached out. They came up with 250 tree saplings, and they helped me cut down in my south pasture nearly all the burnt trees, and stack limbs and pile up firewood. And my kids and I went behind them and planted saplings. And I had some hope. That was a Saturday, and then later that night I got a call that we had been accepted for a rebuild. And I started seeing the silver lining, you know, the blessings that were coming through, and all the blessings before, from the outpouring of support from the community and other cities, individuals I didn't even know, businesses, the school district, my Mountain Schools principal at the time, Patrick Kind, our new Mountain Schools principal, Matt Marietta. Just, that's what kept me afloat. I think I would have been curled up in a ball and depressed and not getting out of bed if it hadn't been for all, you know, the tremendous amount of support from family and friends and just everybody in this town. Yeah, so we had a ground blessing on July 10th of 2013, and I think we actually broke ground the first part of August, and I got to help build the house. I had to contribute 200 sweat equity hours to the build, and that was really fun. My kids got to be a part of it. My son was 15 at the time, was up on the roof with a nail gun and I was up there very cautiously with my little hammer trying not to fall off the roof. And my little ones, 8 and 10, got to do some taping of the insulation. So we all kind of felt like we were a part of it, and it was a wonderful experience. We had 8 microbreweries that helped. They were the sponsors of the build, and yeah, I just got to rebuild my life.